Welcome to Bunch Formation, your newest favorite college football podcast. I am Chris Vannini, and I may have been driving a white Ford Bronco on Saturday, but David, I didn't kill my wife.
Well, neither did OJ, supposedly. I am David Ubben, and I would like to see a Biff Poggi, Nick Saban buddy cop movie, or maybe they're selling cars, whatever they're doing. We got to get these two together just more often. Beautiful, beautiful.
I like that. Yeah, so I get to the rental car place on Saturday morning, heading up to Norman for Oklahoma-Auburn. And the lady sees me. She knows me. She knows I was upset about the electric car. She's like, don't worry, you don't have an electric car this time. But all we have is this Bronco. I'm like, okay. I get out, white Ford Bronco. I'm like, all right, that's funny. So I'm driving up with my buddy Al Cowlings. We're trying to get Bob Costas on the phone.
Mhm.
And yeah, it was an eventful trip up for anybody for all you youngins out there who can understand O.J. Simpson trial jokes. That's
good.
That's
Well,
amazing.
I mean, they probably know more of the content since then. I don't know. You texted me the picture, but I thought you may have been carpooling with Ari or something. Y'all get together at weird times, so it's all good.
We haven't gotten together in a while. And actually, funny thing about that. So as I'm returning the car this morning, Sunday morning, as we're recording, in front of me is a couple renting a car. They're getting an electric vehicle, and the lady behind the counter is explaining how the charging works to them. And she says, make sure you know where you're going to charge before you have to charge. I'm kind of going to take credit for that because that's exactly what I told them to do.
You got to step in, Chris. You got to step in and say, don't do it. You'll regret it.
No, if a rental car place is going to give you an EV, they should tell you just kind of how to go about it. And now they are, be the change you want to see in the world.
You don't have a place to plug it in overnight. The electric car situation is a nightmare. That's why if you have it for your commute at your house, that's totally fine. Rental car, I will never do it again.
Yes. We've got a loaded week 4 reaction show for you people. Some stunning results, a lot of hot seats that are a lot hotter, and even more on what is another fun week of the season. On Sunday, after we recorded this, that SMU 30 for 30 sequel, which I am in, aired. So we're not going to be able to talk about it on this show. We'll talk about it on Thursday. Please watch it if you haven't. Please tell me how I did. We're going to review.
Did you see TCU flame it before release after winning?
I did. TCU made fun of it, as they should. Yeah. Some other good news for the show. David, I got the soundboard working finally. I don't need to insert these after the fact. So now we can say stuff like
Smile.
That's good.
By just
John L. Smith, by the way, the last, I believe he was the last interim Arkansas coach. We might be getting another interim Arkansas coach before too long.
It didn't go too well for him. So we got a lot to talk about. Check out the show notes. We got timestamps. If you want to jump ahead to anything in the show, please send your feedback to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. We're also Bunch Formation on all your social media. Please leave a 5-star review. We will read them on the show. And we have another one, David, from R. Farrow 11, who says, absolutely loving the show. As a Navy grad, I live with the constant frustration that most, including some of the experts on TV, treat Navy as sort of a quaint novelty and always seem to recycle the same cliches and talking points. We've been playing pretty good football for most of this century, especially when you consider the current state of college football. And I appreciate that you guys always put respect on our name. Keep up the great work. Beat Army. Yes.
Chris, have I talked about my Army-Navy theory on here? I don't know if I've done on this show. You talk to people around the American in general and coaches, and this isn't really an American issue, but it's more just a college football issue. The amount of man hours that go into re-recruiting your roster and negotiations and money and keeping guys out of the portal and scouting the portal is a lot. And I think that as those man hours have grown, the two programs in Army and Navy and Air Force, who's kind of in their own sort of situation, that don't have to worry about that, people around the American are like, that seems like not a coincidence. That, they're not spending a lot of time in the portal. They have a lot more continuity, and they can spend a lot more time developing, game planning, all of those things. It's an interesting theory. Navy and Army's resurgence. Mm-hmm.
It is true, although Army lost their running back Kanye Udo to Arizona State, so it doesn't not happen.
If you're everyone else in the American, like you're overhauling your roster almost every year, and they don't have to deal with that. And those man hours add up. And I buy into that theory. Anyway,
we are going to talk about the American Conference later in the show. Navy did not play, but that conference is looking pretty good. We also got a comment here from Chris on Spotify. While patiently waiting for more of David's wild food takes and eating habits and updates on the Vannini family dogs, stick around for smart and funny college football insight and discourse. David, we're down a couple of dogs. We only have one puppy left from the litter. So we
probably should clarify the down a couple dogs, Chris.
Yeah, we were like well over into 12, 13. We're now down to our 6 plus one puppy. Although my wife, when she gets home from work today, is bringing another one back. So there is.
You need a chart, Chris. You need a dog chart behind you that just says fostering 4, owning 2, with some sort of something to update the readers on our listeners on every episode.
We also got a lot of feedback on our lakes versus oceans debate from the preview show. I'll read a couple here. Cal Olson says, David dissing the Great Lakes is a crime, Lake Michigan representation. And Hillbilly says on Spotify, the only people who say lakes are better than the ocean have never lived at the beach. Western Michigan is an incredible place without a doubt, but it will never, ever compete with the ocean. I will say the lake that we stay on, Lake Huron, our place in Canada, there's a full-on beach. So, like, lakes can vary. If you're talking you're in the lake with no sand and all that stuff, yeah, that's not great. There's a wide range of lakes, but I still stand by lakes. You still stand by oceans. Got some people riled up with that.
Yeah, it sounds like, Kalamazoo and Malibu were neck and neck in property values. So definitely lakes, man. Definitely.
All right. And with that, it's time to get into our recaps, reviews, and takes of what was week 4. So let's get into that.
Kids are playing their tail off and the coaches are screwing it up.
We're going to start with what we said was the game of the week. Texas Tech beats Utah 34-10 in Salt Lake City. David, I think Texas Tech is your Big 12 favorite now. That was a statement win in Salt Lake City. This is why you do this. This is why you spend the money. And it's not just the money, by the way. That Texas defense brought back a ton from last year, and they still added transfer defensive linemen on top of that. They hold Utah to 263 yards, 3.8 yards per play, forced 4 turnovers. I'm in on the Texas Tech thing now. Like, they hadn't played anybody, so we were still waiting for it. They did probably the toughest Big 12 game you can play. They even lost Baron Morton, their starting quarterback, for a minute. And big time win. Look out, Texas Tech. Here come the Red Raiders.
Well, the interesting thing with Texas Tech is, people have talked about the money, all of those things. It's not so much, I think people are more worried about the personal dynamics and what that looks like and mishmashing all of this together more than like the talent. I think most people were pretty in on the talent's there. We like these guys, like college football people, coaches, personnel. I didn't hear a lot of skepticism of like they bought the wrong guys. Like they bought a lot of good guys. The interesting thing here, as we talk about Texas Tech as the Big 12 favorite, is Texas Tech is really cruising for an at-large where they're not going to have the pressure in the last month of the season. If they're sitting there at 8-0, it's like, you better take care of business. Look at the schedule. Okay, they've gotten over Utah, at Houston, Kansas, at Arizona State, Oklahoma State, at Kansas State, BYU at home, UCF at home, at West Virginia. They'll be favored in 10, 11 of those games. Like, I will listen to your Texas Tech 12-0, arguments, especially now that Baron Morton is
in
healthy.
week 4. In week 4, I don't
think they're going to get there, but I'm just saying it's not insane to talk about it. But either way, if they get down there and they're going to Arlington at 11-1, it's not going to be probably a win or go home proposition in the Big 12 championship, which we've seen generally in the Big 12. I mean, TCU in 2022 was the one time that I can remember a team kind of going into that game and not having to win, or their season was dead. So I think that's to me one of the biggest luxuries coming out of that is they're obviously good. The Big 12, especially at the top, looks a little soft. Yep. And with that defense, defense travels, and there's a consistency there, a physicality there that we have not seen. Texas Tech in the last decade has not ranked higher than 59th in yards per play defensively. They're sitting there. They were top 10 yesterday. Let me check it today.
Well, that's because of who they played as well, to be fair.
But that doesn't matter, Chris. Texas Tech has played a lot of non-conference. My point is they're much better, and they're
we don't need to get too far in the playoff conversation because it's September. But I will say the thing that would worry me about a 10-2 Texas Tech is that their non-conference schedule was Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Kent State, and Oregon State. Mm-hmm. I don't think there's nothing there. So you think about BYU missing out last year. You think about Miami missing out last year. We'll see. But I think they were physically better than Utah at Utah. That is remarkable. And even when Baron Morton goes out, Will Anderson, the backup, comes in, played really well. You're probably going to stick with Morton because he's been good this season. But you've got options here now.
Yeah, you do. I think I just wanted to see it with Texas Tech because we've seen kind of some in up and down, some hype for them. A lot of people believing in Joey McGuire. Hasn't really had the sort of breakthrough wins, but he's been playing without a stacked deck.
Sorry, Will Hammond, not Will Anderson. Will Hammond.
His entire time at Texas Tech. Well, they clearly have the best roster in the Big 12. And so that doesn't guarantee you anything, but it provides a lot of opportunities and a lot of margin for error, which Texas Tech has not had. You even think back to the 2008 season. That's the best Texas Tech season that they've had probably since Spike Dykes going back to the Southwest Conference days. They still were not – they were building that around a scheme that was cooking people. The early air raid, the defenses hadn't quite adjusted yet. And then they go to Oklahoma and they get humbled rather dramatically in that game. But this team doesn't have to worry about that because the interesting thing about this Texas Tech team is, Baron Morton is probably not going to be having a 20-year career in the NFL. They don't have a lot of these big-time, crazy good receivers. They built this team on the line of scrimmage. You bring in Howard Sampson, you bring in the 5 defensive line transfers.
And they overpaid for those guys because they knew they had to. And that's what our colleague Sam Kahn wrote about them as well. It's no, you can't just match what somebody else is willing to spend and you get them. No, if you're Texas Tech, you have to overspend. And we talked to every coach at Big 12 Media Days, you and I did, and Justin Williams. Mm-hmm. What do you think of what Texas Tech is doing? And everybody was hey, I don't blame them. I wish I had that Cody Campbell thing too. You look at they're paying 3 times what some other people are offering.
Let me read this quote because a lot of the coaches didn't believe that the numbers were real from that story that me, you, and Justin Williams did. We asked him how might go. Ridiculous. They're not just outbidding. They're outbidding other teams by 3x. Wild, but it will be interesting. If the players are good kids about the right things and about winning, I think it'll go great. This is the one thing that makes it interesting. If they're about themselves, the coach said, the first time adversity hits will define them. That's the only kind of bug up with Texas Tech is they haven't hit that speed bump yet. They haven't been down 17-0 in the second quarter where you got to dig in a little bit. And that's my only question about Texas Tech.
And Joey McGuire after the game too, he's everybody's talking about all the money, but people don't talk about how together this team is. And that is true. So Texas Tech looks very good. Have not finished the season ranked since 2009. So this has been a big year for them. As for Utah, all the concerns I had about this team coming in were there. They can't get explosive plays. They had one 44-yard pass. They had the other long, I think it was a touchdown that called back because Spencer Fano, for some reason, was downfield blocking on a pass play, and it called it back. But other than that 44-yard, I think their longest play was 12 yards. And
they don't have a lot of dynamic receivers on the outside, which is a problem. And Devin Dampier, love the kid, extremely fun. You saw some of his limitations as a passer. When the running game is going and you've got 6 guys in the box, then it can be a lot easier to make plays to the air. But when Texas Tech was getting pressure with 5 guys, asking Dampier to throw it as much as he did, that's a big ask. He's not Tom Brady. So for
sure. Texas Tech, your Big 12 favorite, I think, and maybe for quite a while. Statement win.
Yeah.
Heck of a performance.
Yeah.
Oklahoma 24, Auburn 17. I was at this game. Weird game, ugly game for a while, but I come out of it feeling that John Mateer is money. Money Mateer. That's the nickname we're going with. Fans in the crowd are yelling it at him. Fans on the Jumbotron are doing the Johnny Manziel money things. He completed 16 of his last 17 passes. And when they go down late in the fourth quarter against Auburn, he drives them right down the field in 6 plays and runs it in for the touchdown in the win, and the defense swallows up Jackson Arnold. I'm in on Mateer now. Like, his poise, his growth is very impressive. This Oklahoma team is very good. They still cannot run the ball at all, but this might be the best defense in the country, and they might have the best quarterback in the country. And that's a pretty good combination.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably about right. I still think, I last week I officially crossed over. I purchased some Oklahoma stock. I still don't know did you have any, when you went there, did you get any sense of like what the situation was with Jaden Ott? Did he even play on Saturday? He didn't have any stats.
Yeah, I don't. So my understanding is it's a couple of things. One, he's still kind of banged up. And 2, I don't think he's grasping the offense very well. Some plays where he's not exactly running the correct thing. The fact that they're not even going to him right now says it's probably a combination of all those things. Like Ben Arbuckle, the OC, he knows they cannot run the ball. And he also knows he cannot run John Mateer 20 times. So he's trying other things. Now, Oklahoma did have some offensive lines banged up a little bit. And I'm not saying like Oklahoma national championship. Every team has flaws. But offensively, Mateer he just makes stuff happen. And, a couple of weeks ago at the Michigan game, I was complaining about the sidearms he was throwing. He made a comment after the game. He realized he was not putting enough air under the ball. And so now he is. It's like a little thing that I think is a real sign of maturity. And you didn't see those sidearm plays against Auburn. And so that's good. The receivers, the tight ends, it's all a good situation there. This defense is incredible, man. 10 sacks. And it probably should have been more. There was one called back on a hold. There was one late. It was a 0-yard run by Jackson Arnold, so it didn't count. They had 7 sacks in the first half. I think 12 tackles for loss.
Phew.
That, R. Mason Thomas didn't even play in the first half because of targeting. That safety on 4th down, on 4th and 20, to get the cover of 6.5 was crazy. Did
you see the other 3 linemen just basically stood? I don't know why they just sort of stood there, but it was basically him versus the left side of Auburn's line, and he just caved it in. He was accounted for, and it just didn't matter.
By 2 people, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
This was Auburn. We'll talk about the penalties in the SEC situation in a minute, but Oklahoma's strategy very clearly was, we trust Guillory, our cornerback, to guard Cam Coleman without safety help. And it didn't go great. Coleman had 2 big plays down the sideline. Jackson Arnold missed another one that should have been a touchdown. He overthrew him. Another one was underthrown. I don't remember if it was caught or not, but it should have been a touchdown. So that was tough, but Oklahoma knew what they were doing against a quarterback that they know very well in Jackson Arnold. Yeah. And they made him work for it. And Coleman made a few plays, but Auburn could not run the ball at all. Auburn team that had been running the ball pretty well. So great to look. Brett, remember what this Oklahoma defense was a couple of years ago when Lincoln Riley was there?
They've been all over the map. Yeah.
Arch Manning is going to be in for a very, very tough Red River, I think, in a couple of weeks. Auburn, I think you come out of this still feeling okay, you were up late. You if a couple calls go the other way, you potentially win this game. If not, I think you had 7 false starts or something like that. They could have won this game. I still like the pieces that are there. So some games you're not going to be able to run the ball. Some games you'll have to pass it more. And I think their defense looks really good too.
They look improved, but I think any idea that they were going to Auburn their way to Atlanta and play for an SEC title, I think you can probably put that aside. Now you got a math problem after losing to Oklahoma, but I just think the team is obviously improved from the first couple that we saw from Hugh Freeze, adding a quarterback, adding Eric Singleton, a matured Cam Coleman, who, we didn't really hit on Cam Coleman, but you can see the jump. That is
a man among boys.
Some 5 stars pop off the screen, and Cam Coleman is one. So, I think Auburn, they look like a 7-9 win team, and that'll depend on how many of those close games you can win. And they lost one here this weekend.
So as for those officiating mistakes. In the first half, Oklahoma scores its first touchdown of the game, throwing to a wide open receiver who was down on the sideline, completely uncovered. And that is because he kind of sort of looked like he was going to substitute.
No, Chris.
Well,
wait. Faked like he was going to sub out. He was jogging to the sideline and stopped. Come on now.
Yes, jogging to the sideline stopped. But Oklahoma did not have anybody coming in. It wasn't like that. It was a tempo play. They didn't bring anybody in or off. And Auburn thinks he's going off. They don't cover him. Touchdown. Hugh Freeze is livid. Auburn is livid. That is against the rules. Even when you do not substitute, that is against the rules. You pointed this out with the rule book, whatever it says in the rule book.
It's a broad definition. Basically, no deception when we're subbing. It like the exact language is very, very clear on this, and it is a very broad umbrella that basically you can't use the process of subbing to confuse opponents in any way. That means you can't do guys are doing line dances or, doing a hoedown and spinning and trying to figure you can't do any of that. And this is clearly deception. Oklahoma's radio broadcast, Bob Stoops, Teddy Lehman talked about how they practice this in practice.
Which is wild because everybody knows that is not allowed, but it always tricks the referees. And we asked everybody at Oklahoma about this, and Ben Arbuckle's like, I don't think we were tiptoeing the rule. He went over to the sideline. He pointed to the ref. The ref nodded.
They were breaking it.
And so it was. And so when that happens, I decide I need to ask Oklahoma and the SEC about this. Because normally in pro sports, when there's a officiating question, there is a designated pool reporter, a single reporter who will get to talk to the head referee, ask the questions, get the answers. College football does not have that. They do have it in the playoff, but they do not have it in the regular season. A year ago, when the Texas-Georgia fans throw garbage on the field and then they reverse an interception, pass interference, I go to the Texas SID. I say, hey, I'd like to submit some questions about what happened. I send them to him. He sends them to the conference. The conference releases a statement. So this happens at Oklahoma. I go to the Oklahoma SID. I go, hey, like to ask for comment from the SEC about this. He didn't really know what to do because no one has ever done this before in Oklahoma. And so he says, just reach out to the two PR guys with the SEC. I said, okay. So I text both of them. I send them your tweet. What's up? Later on in the game, the SID comes over to me. He says, hey, I talked to the guys at the SEC. Again, nobody had ever come to him with a question before. He says the SEC may or may not release a statement about it after the game. My feeling is they probably will. Okay, cool. The SEC does release a statement after the game where they say, yeah, that Oklahoma touchdown shouldn't have counted. It should have been a unsportsmanlike penalty, and that the SEC will basically handle this matter internally.
Which I think is a mistake. I think you need some public accountability. Here's the issue. This goes back to the Mizzou, Kansas free kick thing. This rule is not necessarily, there's some subjectivity here. You do have to make an interpretation, but I don't know how you can watch that play and not interpret that there was some element or some idea of confusing or tricking. And the language in the rule is no tactic associated with substitutes or the substitution process may be used to confuse opponents. I mean, that's a pretty broad umbrella. So there's some subjectivity to it. It's not as objective as you can't punt off of kickoff. That's pretty bad. That was a Big 12 crew in that Missouri-Kansas game. But not a great officiating season already.
But remember what the Big 12...
That's a rule book thing.
Remember what the Big 12 did. The Big 12 said that officiating crew will not be on assignment this week. That's a very rare public explanation. And again, when Stuart Mandel and I wrote this big story on officiating over the summer, the SEC had said, we only release statements when there's a misapplication of a rule. And that's it. We won't comment on when we penalize guys or whatever, which didn't used to be the case. Mike Slive publicly fired some officials back in the day, but they don't do that anymore. Meanwhile, I've got the Big 12 publicly saying what punishment they have for the officials, at least some of it. And two, you have the ACC showing you replay and the conversation on replay. So the SEC has been very secretive, just kind of clamped down on how it does this. It's going to be the last conference to go to replay audio if it ever does that. I don't think that's good. And if you're Auburn, And if you're Auburn, like, you should be upset, not only because of that, you have the scoop and score at the beginning of the game. That is
the pass interference was horrific.
That is not called. Then you have the non-called pass interference on a running back pass, which could have been a touchdown. It was in the end zone. Mm-hmm. Now, you did get kind of a phantom pass interference later in the game that led to the winning touchdown, so it might have been a little makeup call there. But yeah, the officiating was not good in this game, and Auburn has every right to be upset, and that's a problem.
The issue with this, Chris, is I think the conferences, and I guess we'll just stick with the SEC because that's what we're talking about right now. They don't want to be transparent because they're worried fans are going to be mad or harass these people or do whatever you can. You can find the officials' names. It's not like this is like you have to name them publicly in a thing or whatever. But what they're doing is counterproductive. When you have an issue where clearly they were wrong, like we dug in the rule book on Saturday. As soon as I read it, I was like, they got this wrong. Like, this is totally wrong. The SEC statement cited basically what I tweeted. And what happens is when you don't have that transparency, I think you only enrage the fans more because they don't know what the punishment is. It's like when a player, has like a DUI or breaks some rule and the coach is like, well, we're going to have internal discipline. And then the next game the player starts and it's like, well, what happened there? And I think people feel like that. I think what the SEC trying to do, which is release some of the heat on some of this, only amps it up when they are not transparent at all about what is happening and how they're dealing with this, which is a pretty clear mistake.
The punishment for the officials should be announced because you have to continue that trust with your teams and your fans and your coaches. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't happen when you just release a statement and say, we'll deal with it. Because if you're Auburn, you're pretty darn pissed. And I think you should.
Yeah. And they should be. Before we move on, I just think it's different when we're talking about, that was a hold, that was pass interference, that was illegal man downfield. He was 2 yards, maybe he was 4 yards. This is rule book interpretation, and I think it's different. So anyway.
Correct. And I'd love to be able to have asked the official about it. Credit to Molly McGrath, the sideline reporter, who did ask the official apparently during the break. She was on it.
That's why Molly's one of the best. Our Grace Rayner profiled Molly a couple of years ago, I guess. I don't know when it was. She did
friend of the former show. We interviewed her at the national championship game.
Yeah,
she's awesome. All right, Indiana 63, Illinois 10. I didn't see most of this game live because I was working and then driving home from Oklahoma. I don't think I missed very much.
If you ran into like a raccoon or a possum on 35 on the way back home, Chris, you did watch this game.
David, do you come out of this thinking Indiana, like Texas Tech, is for real?
Yeah, there definitely are. Can they compete man for man with an Ohio State, with this version of Penn State, with Oregon? Not so sure, but the idea that Indiana was sort of a lightning in a bottle last year, I think is just not the case. That looked a lot like the Indiana team that we saw last year. The defense might be a little bit better. They've got better receivers. They definitely have better quarterback play. I think, Fernando Mendoza really announced himself in the Heisman conversation. And I think he's more talented than Curtis Rourke is, like a little bit more prototype. And, our guy Sig Nasty, I mean, he's a killer. And what is Illinois? I think is a fair question. I think we'll see. That Duke game was a little fluky, but I came away with this thinking, one, Indiana's probably going to be in the playoff again. And I think Illinois is still pretty good.
It's September, and you'd think Illinois, there's a greater than 50% chance that Indiana's in the playoff already?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
I watched the game, Chris. I mean, look at the schedule. Again, we're talking schedule, okay? At Iowa, at Oregon, UCLA, at Maryland, at Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. If you can get through that,
a lot tougher than last year.
It is tougher than last year, but if you can get through that at 10-2, I think you can feel pretty good. I mean, they're a better team than Iowa. Oregon will be tough. They're going to beat Michigan State at home. UCLA is not good. You could beat Penn State. You could beat Maryland. I mean, I just think if you play close to your capabilities, you're probably 10-2. You might be 11-1, and that's playoff talk.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaway in Indiana is like they're not dropping off from last year. Mm-hmm. Not to say 11-1 because of schedules and whatnot, but like this isn't a program going back to what it was. When they went on their run last year, Indiana really stepped up financially to keep their coaches, to keep their players, to get new players, and they're acting like a big-time program. And that is the sign of a team that's not going to drop off. Mendoza, 21 for 23, 5 touchdowns. Ridiculous. On Illinois, I think part of it is like you ran out of luck. You had your first turnover of the season. You didn't get any turnovers, which you had been getting. Still can't run the ball. And you lost your entire secondary in this game, either through injuries or ejections or what have you. And so, like, I don't think Indiana is 53 points better on a normal day. I think the injuries specifically there to Illinois made it worse. But Indiana, who's going to be this year's Indiana? It might end up being Indiana. So heck of a performance from them. Going to go down to the Sunshine State now. Miami 26, Florida 7. We're just going to talk about Miami right now. We're going to save Florida for the hot seat section. I'm still concerned about Miami's game management.
Yeah, shockingly. You should be.
They punted the ball. They punted the ball 3 times in Florida territory here, and didn't go for the jugular, so to speak. You ultimately pulled away at the very end, but Florida had the ball, I think, in the fourth quarter, down 13-17.
Yes,
and could have taken this game. So
this game a lot like Utah Texas Tech, way closer than the final score will tell you. So
yes, what was your takeaway?
I still think I'm landing on Miami where we were last week. As far as punting in territory, I will give them a light pass on this because I think some of that is just being so unimpressed with Florida's offense and knowing that there's a 5% chance that they're going to go 80 yards on you, and just knowing that. So being that conservative, making some questionable calls in plus territory, I will say some of that is situational, contextual. They might not play that way. But ultimately, this Miami team, like, other than, Malachi Corley next year, or, in 2 years when he grows up a little bit more.
No, not Malachi Corley. That's the old Western Kentucky guy.
Excuse me.
Tony, Malachi Tony.
Malachi Tony, excuse me. They don't have a lot of guys that just jump off the screen at you. But like I said, they just were better than Florida. And Florida didn't play that badly. And they just completely boa constricted them. Ruben Bain is kind of the only guy that you watch them and you're like, this guy is unbelievable. Mark Fletcher's a load in the open field. Ruben Bain, if we're gonna start having a defensive player in the Heisman conversation, he's probably got to be near the top of the list.
He's not got the
really good at everything.
Yeah, so. Yeah. Bain had, I think, like 9 quarterback hurries. I think 7 tackles, half a sack. Just blew everything up. I'm with you at Miami. Like they do everything well. There's nothing they don't do well. Fletcher, 24 carries, 116 yards and a touchdown on the ground.
Run the ball.
Like if Mario Cristobal had his druthers, like he would just want to pound the rock. That's what he wants, and he has the offensive and defensive lines to do that. Carson Beck, not great. 17 for 30, 106 yards and a pick. Didn't have zip in there. Had that interception to Cormani McClain, of all people.
Didn't have to be great. And also some of that's Florida's defense. Florida's defense is probably one of the 15 best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
But just nobody talks about them because the offense is a mess. Lagway. I mean, the broadcast would not stop talking about it. And on some level, I agree with it. But the broadcast, what about? He's had 5 weeks of practice since January. And it's like, yeah, but that shouldn't matter when you're airmailing a 13-yard out. That's not a timing thing. Like the accuracy.
I mean, it can be with your receivers.
Not some of the misses that he has. I don't buy that. Some of the misses he has are chemistry based. They are mechanics and accuracy based.
If Miami had come out and buried Florida, I think I was ready to put them at number 1. I don't think I am yet. But
who's your number 1?
I think I had Ohio State last week. It's probably just going to stay there because they didn't play. But we got Miami, Florida State in a couple weeks, which is going to be fun. We are finally going to get a big-time Miami, Florida State game that we have not had in decades.
You said, do either of them have a game next week that they could trip up on?
Someone's got a bye. Miami's on a bye. Then they're at Florida State.
Okay, so they're through. Florida State, I don't trust this team at all yet.
They go to Virginia. Florida State goes to Virginia on a Friday night.
That's a perfect Florida State trip up and lose that game and ruin it.
It's not like Florida State has ever played Virginia not on a Saturday while ranked highly and lost, and it blown up a lot of things. That's never happened before. It only happened in the first ever Thursday college football game, or one of the first ones, famously in 95? I think that was. Work done, tackled just short of the goal line. All right. Michigan 30, Nebraska 27. We could take the Nebraska side of this.
Yeah.
Nebraska is still soft. They're still Nebraska. This was the moment to take that step forward, and they really didn't. A final score closer than the game was. That includes a Hail Mary at halftime. That includes a late touchdown to make it a one-score game. But this is now 28 straight losses to ranked teams for Nebraska.
29. There's 29.
29, so I guess I haven't been updated.
That's hard to do. Like, the worst programs, the toughest programs in the P5 don't do that. Like, there's just so many bites at the apple. And I just, man.
Matt Rule is actually, I believe, 0-18 against ranked teams since he left Temple. He didn't beat any of them at Baylor, apparently. So that is not going well. Like, we had all that, like, can Nebraska win close games type of thing. They won a couple of close games. We thought, hey. But then it turns out, hey, maybe
Cincinnati one was good.
Cincinnati getting a 70% success rate on the ground turned out to maybe be kind of a harbinger of the problems with his defense. Michigan rushes for 290 yards. They gave up multiple runs of over 50 yards. 3 players had runs of at least 30 yards. Just blew him up. Justice Hayes had a 75-yard run. And Dylan Raiola, like, I might be out on him. Like, his ability now, a season and a half into this, to just never want to set his feet on making a throw and just tossing everything like he's Patrick Mahomes in real life is so just, like, holding him back. Like, if you're Dana Holgorsen, you're the coach, is like, what are you doing? Like, how is he not being coached better to stand in the pocket? He has zero pocket awareness whatsoever, and he thinks he can just do everything with his arm. Remember what I said earlier in the show about John Mateer? He was doing those sidearm throws, and then a couple weeks later, he's not doing them, and he says, hey, I realized I need to get more air under the ball. Like, where is that from Dylan Raiola now in his second season? Where is that step forward that was supposed to be there? Just incredibly discouraging performance for Nebraska when this was supposed to be the moment you take over. Bryce Underwood's numbers aren't better, but he was the better quarterback in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it jumps off at you when guys are special. Like, the frustrating thing with Raiola is you can see the tools. Like, you can see it. You watch him and you're like, I get why this guy was the super recruit, you know, despite all of the kind of weird stuff that makes people kind of root against him. But you got to be more of a playmaker. Like, make the throws in the big spots. You've played enough football at this point that we should be seeing more, and we're not. And I'm kind of with you on being out on him, because you should, when you have those kinds of tools, that should translate into production and playmaking in more spots than it has. And we see a lot of not making throws, making some lazy throws. You mentioned the pocket presence. I think that's fair. And, you know, people don't talk about this enough with Raiola. In 2025, in the college game being where it is, if you've got a big-time quarterback and there's zero run threat, you're kind of behind the 8 ball a little bit. And, you know, he's borderline statue back there, and that's a problem.
With Michigan, I think they're going to be a Big Ten factor now, because the rest of the schedule: Wisconsin, USC, Washington, Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland, Ohio State. Like, those last 4 before Ohio State, like, I'd be stunned if they don't win all 4 of those easily. You know, Washington, I don't know. USC, the next game at USC. That's the big one. You win that game, you're in the Big Ten race for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And this team is, like, It's limited. I keep saying Bryce Underwood's going to become a star when he has some receivers who can actually catch the ball and get open. But he is not phased. He has gone into 2 very difficult road environments. And while his stats may not be great, like his poise is very much there. Mm-hmm. And he has very good pocket presence and awareness, and his ability to hit those quarterback draws or up the middle when he sees the 2 safeties. Good stuff there. Like Michigan's not what they were the last, those Big Ten championship years, but by the nature of the way things swing, keep an eye on Michigan.
Stat of the week, by the way, from the great Dan Wetzel, Michigan 8-0 in games where their head coach is suspended since the start of the 2023 season.
Beating Nebraska, Penn State, Ohio State. Like, they've beaten some teams too.
Yeah.
All right. Syracuse 34, Clemson 21. David, you wrote the big Fran Brown profile story leading into this game. Mm-hmm. Normally for us sports writers, when you write one of those stories, they immediately faceplant, and the shelf life on the story is quick. Instead, your story is more relevant than ever. Start on the Syracuse side before we get to Clemson. How about this team, man?
They are really interesting. Our guy, shout out to our guy, Peanut Butter and Jelly, out for the season. Torn Achilles. That was hard to watch. Ricky Collins, comes over from LSU, was kind of the guy in the spring. Trevor Pena, not a fan, pieced out in part because of that. And Steve Angeli had been leading the nation in passing yards. It really worked out. The offense is probably going to change a little bit. Jeff Nixon, their OC, I think he's going to have to adjust. We'll see. But ultimately, the Clemson stock bottoming out here. I don't know what to make of Syracuse. I saw them in person in week 1. Wasn't that impressed. The schedule is so crazy that I don't know that their final record is going to tell you much about who they are. But I do know
it's not as
team, when you play them, they're going to be tough. They're going to be tough out for just about everybody.
Syracuse's schedule is not as tough as maybe we thought, because they're what, 2-2 now. I'm sorry, they're 3-1.
Tough, man.
They're 3, but I'm saying, like, this team could get to a bowl. We got to see how Ricky Collins is.
Yeah.
But this team could get to a bowl game when I think their over/under win total was 5.5 coming into the year.
I believe it was 5.5. Yeah.
Games I think they can win still on the schedule: Duke, SMU, Pitt, UNC, Boston College. Win 3 of those 5. Yeah, you're probably not going to beat Notre Dame or Miami or Georgia Tech, but you can win 3 of those 5. Like, if Steve Angeli was playing, for sure. So that's really unfortunate. But Fran Brown, man, he's a good coach. That is a team that believes in their coach. Speaking of a team that doesn't believe in their coach, Clemson. Like, we were done with them last week. I might be done with Dabo there. And it's not like you can't fire him. You can't fire him. The buyout's like $60 million or something like that. But it feels like one of those situations where, kind of like Kentucky basketball, where like you kind of want John Calipari to just take another job and do that. But like, I don't know how many places are going to line up to hire Dabo right now, because the whole draw of Calipari was he was going to bring in all your 5-star recruits at least. And Clemson's not doing that. Dabo's, his whole family's grown up there. All his kids are on the team working as holders. I don't know where this goes now. And suddenly, I don't know if Clemson makes a bowl game. You'll beat North Carolina, but you got South Carolina on the road, you got Louisville on the road, got Florida State, SMU. If you play like you did at Boston College, ain't a gimme. Like, this is the team you picked to win the national championship. I picked them to play for the championship. And suddenly, I don't know if they're going to go to a bowl game, man.
The hard part about Clemson is I saw the game at LSU in person, watched most of the Georgia Tech game, watched a good chunk of this game yesterday. I don't know why. That's the biggest issue.
They're getting worse. They're getting worse.
Yes. Like Florida State last year, it made more sense. Like we were through 4 weeks last year, and you're like, this team's bad at everything, and the players don't seem invested. So when they that Florida go 2-10, I wasn't that surprised.
And that Florida State team turned over a bunch of stuff. They had new quarterbacks, lost the defensive players, what have you. This Clemson team brought back everything. They were number one.
And they won the ACC last year.
They won the ACC. They've got like 4 or 5 guys in Dane Brugler's top 100 NFL. Like, guys, like, I saw people, we got a lot of comments of like, Clemson hype was all media driven. You didn't watch the tape, blah, blah, blah. Like, no, we believed in Clemson specifically this year because they finally had the talent advantage that they didn't have the last couple of years. Peter Woods, Cade Klubnik. These are guys we thought, TJ Parker, these are guys like could be picked in the first couple of rounds of the NFL draft, and now they might not be because of how they're playing, or maybe they light it up in the combine and we come back in May and go, how the heck did Clemson do that with all those NFL guys? Like,
I think that the most astounding thing was just defensively, the complete breakdown on Saturday. That, like, offensively, it's not good. And when you can't run the ball and your best receiver's out, like, okay, you're not great, but you should still be better than you are.
Against Syracuse, you should be, David.
Yes.
Syracuse, who barely beat UConn.
Getting absolutely dominated on both sides of the ball in a game that wasn't really competitive. It's still hard to believe because I watch these games and I'm like, I still am not sure why this team is not good. I maybe have to call around the ACC and be like, what have you guys seen? Like, what are we missing with this group where the production does not match up with the players that are on the field? It's been a while. Maybe Bama last year was probably the best example of this, but that made a lot of sense. Like,
they went 9-3 and beat Georgia and LSU.
Also that.
This team ain't doing that.
Like, but I don't remember a team that had this much experience and this much talent and this much continuity and structure around them where it doesn't work. I don't know. Like, this wasn't the Clemson from like 2022 where the pre-Cade era. Like, you watch them and you're like, they don't have enough good players.
They don't have
good defensive line, and that's it. And
they didn't have receivers. They didn't have receivers for a couple of years. They didn't have an NFL draft pick at quarterback. The talent wasn't there. The talent's supposed to be there, and it's not. Feels like a team that is checked out of what the coaches are saying. Dabo was complaining. Fans are tired of all the winning. No, they're tired of all the losing. There's something like 8-7 in their last 15 FBS or Power 4 games or something like that. Like, Clemson looks like a team that thinks they'll just walk in and win, and they're not that. And it's frankly stunning. I don't know where this goes. I don't know. Any week in a given week, you don't know what Dabo's going to say, but he just doesn't have the answers. He does not have the answers. Ole Miss 45, Tulane 10. Hit you with a woof.
Tulane tired? Tulane tired? I don't know.
I think you're tired. I think it's like USF. You get up for the games against the Power 4 opponents. You maybe get a little bit tired. For Ole Miss, like, you can't go back to Austin Simmons, right? I mean, he's still hurt.
Yeah,
so like,
can.
but
like,
can.
I think
Trinidad.
Like defense. Go ahead.
Trinidad Chambless, 307 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He's had 2 gigantic games. The former Division II Ferris State transfer, filling in for Austin Simmons, who's injured. He's lighting it up.
I think so. You have Arkansas, one of the worst defenses in the SEC, maybe the worst. So that matters.
We'll get to them.
And then you have a very tired Tulane team that probably doesn't have the bodies to keep up with you and is probably feeling playing a couple, Northwestern and Duke the last couple of weeks. So I think you can. I mean, a lot of this is what you've seen in practice. Like, if the gap was pretty wide coming into the season, which my sense was that it was, I think you can go back to him. I don't think the Chambless production is there, but it's not like you're seeing him go out there and make these plays. You're like, I don't know how anybody can make these plays. I would probably go back to Simmons once he's healthy. I don't think you want to just ride the Chambless train and then wonder, when he has a bad game and we lose, then we go back. I think you want to preempt that. Like, who's better when they're fully healthy? And it sounds like, Simmons, part of his allure is the dual threat capability, and that's a big part of that offense. And if he's got a gimpy ankle and can't really move, that matters. So I'd probably go back to Simmons, honestly. I think Arkansas and Tulane are not what's going to decide your season.
We'll see. Tulane, like, this doesn't really impact them at all. It's not a conference game. It's not a game that's going to impact their college football playoff
The American
really,
wasn't getting 2 teams in. They might be sort of close. But
no. We'll get to the American in a second, but it is the kind of loss where if they do win the group of 5, or if they do win a playoff spot as a conference champion, they've got that loss to Ole Miss, and maybe Ole Miss is like 8-4. You're like, it's not great, Boise.
I think whatever you do in the playoff, I think will carry the day more than the loss in September. That was pretty ugly.
No,
I mean, you did beat Duke and Northwestern like pretty convincingly.
You'll just see like this is why the SEC deserves more spots in the playoff. You will have people say that as we continue to maybe or maybe not get to.
I don't know.
Expansion.
If you go into the playoff and you lose 45-10, I agree with you, but I don't think that'll be the case. Looking back, depending on how they do in the American, but we'll see. Tulane, I think, still probably the best G5 team, but we'll see.
TCU 35, SMU 24, the last Iron Skillet game. My take, I think TCU's got a really good team. Like, I kind of thought, I thought that against UNC, and obviously we know UNC is garbage. We'll get to them. But just the effort that TCU played with in that game, that's a defense that's really flying around. TCU could have won this game by more, but Kevin Jennings played his tail off, the SMU quarterback, with a bum ankle still bothering him. There was a pick in the end zone as well. TCU pulled away in the fourth quarter. This was a close game throughout. But like Josh Hoover looks really, really good. He got hurt at the end, but said afterward he's okay. So hopefully he is.
TCU did this, by the way. No Kavorian Barnes.
Yeah, so. Hoover 22 for 40, 379 yards, 5 touchdowns, completed to a bunch of different people. One of them who will get our helmet sticker at the end of the show. This team, like, I already had them in my top 25, but like, I think it's time now. Like TCU, Big 12 contender. They're in that discussion now. I think that's very impressive.
Yeah, I think Texas Tech's that favorite. I think Utah can still get back there, but yeah, I'm with you. If it's not Utah, I feel like TCU is kind of right there with them. So. And
they're kind of under the radar. They won 9 games last year. We didn't really talk about them, but they go to Arizona State this Friday. That will be a big time game for the Big 12. Interesting. SMU. Like, they're 2-2 now coming off the playoff spot. I think people are trying to say, oh, last year was a fluke, yada, yada. I don't think it was that. One, they let the Baylor game get away. They were up 14 late. They blew it. They should have won that game. And two, the defense has taken a step back, which we knew they would. They lost several studs on that defense. And you can't just reload that necessarily every year. And again, I think TCU's pretty good. So that is kind of my takeaway so far from that. Missouri 29, South Carolina 20. My take from this is that Ahmad Hardy is probably the best player in the country nobody is talking about. He, again, big game, 22 carries, 130 yards, and a touchdown. Lenora Sellers did play in this game and did play well, but Missouri gets the win at home.
Nobody can tackle Ahmad Hardy.
No.
I may be doing some stuff on that in the future, but that was, I think we weren't really sure what to make of South Carolina coming off of Andy. I think like the South Carolina nightmare season is probably off the table. I think they're going to be okay. They didn't let go of the rope, but Missouri is pretty good. And I think when you're looking at Missouri, you're looking at their schedule, you look at the top of the SEC. When there isn't a behemoth out there that you're just like, you're going to need to do something spectacular to win the SEC. Like, Missouri's got a good of a shot at anybody to get in the playoff and maybe get to Atlanta, because I think that race is going to be wide open. I think there's going to be a 2-loss team probably in Atlanta. And so, that's going to be the SEC. The top is not as strong as it has been. And, you can make a case for a bunch of teams, but I don't think there's a lot of teams you can make a case against at this point. It is pretty wide open, and Missouri's in that group.
Missouri has UMass, then a bye, then Alabama at home. That Alabama game will be the one where we decide whether or not Missouri's legit. Because remember, last year, was it Texas A&M who blew them out?
Yeah.
And we just kind of forgot about him at that point. So if Missouri wins that game, schedule very much sets up to get to Atlanta. South Carolina, meanwhile, very difficult schedule the rest of the way. Everybody is ranked. Everybody's ranked except Coastal and Clemson.
It's worth noting for Missouri, and I hit on this in championship week last week, and everybody got mad. They were unfortunate that I was correct. For Missouri, it's not even about getting to Atlanta or not. They've been to Atlanta. It is what it is. Can you get in at large?
Mm-hmm.
Probably, especially if you beat Bama. Like if you beat Bama and you've got those wins on your resume, and you're looking at the back half of your season, you're like, we got to go 4-2 to get to the playoff, and we might get to Atlanta, regardless. Like that's a good place to be if you're Missouri. And I think getting to the playoff would be infinitely more impactful for that program than going to Atlanta, and losing. If they win, I think that's different.
Yeah.
If you win the SEC, that's different.
Well, if you make Atlanta, if you make Atlanta, you're probably in the playoff. I mean, the SEC championship game.
Probably, I wouldn't bet my life on it in 2025 because there might be like 5 or 6 teams in that 10-2, 9-3 range. I wouldn't bet my life on it this year that you're a loser.
Yeah, but if you take out Missouri to put in an SEC team that didn't make it to Atlanta, you can't. It's like the SMU situation last year. They would have been in if not for the championship game. I still think the committee will abide by that. We will see. We now go to American Corner, brought to you by Soar the Eagle. The American Don't Call Us Athletic Conference continues to have a very, very good season. Memphis 32, Arkansas 31. We will hold our thoughts on Arkansas for the hot seat section. Memphis was down 28-10, I think, in this game. They come back. Arkansas is in field goal range to win the game with under 2 minutes left. They are running the ball. The ball gets punched out. Memphis recovers. They get a first down. They win the game. Memphis is 4-0 now. That's an SEC win for them. Heck of a performance by Ryan Silverfield, who is now 26-5 in his last 31 games. He's won his last 4 against Power 4 opponents. He beat Tulane last year. I know he doesn't have the conference championship on the resume, but that's a coach who I think is the last couple of years deserving more respect from people like Alex Kirshner, our buddy.
To me, this is a culture win. I texted Silverfield after the game. Obviously, he was very excited. But when you're in a culture that is used to winning, that expects to win, when you're down 28-10, everybody is still going to be pulling on the rope. Everybody is still going to be working and pushing. And that matters. He was talking about like our guys had grit. And you just have to keep playing, keep pushing. And, that defense gives up 28 in the first half. Arkansas scores 3 points in the second half. Arkansas is driving down the field. It looks like it's pretty obvious that it's going to be inevitable. They're either going to score or they're going to get a chip shot field goal. Nope. Fumble. We're going to jump on it. Like, there was a lot of chances for Memphis to kind of give up here. There's a lot of things working against them, even playing at home. For them to get that win is massive for themselves, as we mentioned, for the American. So
Ryan Silverfield likes you again now?
I don't know. I guess we'll see. He responded. So that's good.
Back when Memphis played in the Hawaii Bowl and got canceled during COVID, and David wrote about the players just kind of having fun on Hawaii. He was not happy about that, but that's in the past. We're all good now. North Texas 45, Army 38 in overtime. North Texas had a big lead, but Army forced overtime. North Texas is 4-0, folks. This is a team to keep an eye on. They're going to have a hand in the American race where look at these teams. You got USF with 2 Power 4 wins. You got Tulane, 2 Power 4 wins. They're both 3-1. Memphis is 4-0. North Texas is 4-0. Navy's 3-0. May very well be 8-0 before they get Notre Dame. The schedule is very favorable. Rice is 3-1 after beating Charlotte. Like, this conference, like, it would be an absolute stunner if the American does not win the playoff spot this year. There are so many contenders. Even if they play each other and beat themselves up a little bit, USF and Tulane don't play each other. Like, this league's killing it, man. Like for all the talk about, the new Pac-12 and this and that, and the American lost teams to the Big 12, like, this conference does not die. Like, people always try to bury it, and they don't. And it keeps doing very well. So that's great. Any quick comments about the American?
No, I'm with you. I think it's the American race is the CFP race at this point, and it's going to be compelling because there's a bunch of teams that are going to be in the mix. Last year, we kind of knew, like, probably going to be Boise, maybe UNLV, the Mountain West was kind of the front seat for the playoff race. And now I don't know that I don't know if there's anybody outside of the America. Like what is the path for a non-American team to get to the playoff? Is there even one?
I mean, UNLV is undefeated in a very bizarre way, which we'll get to in a second. But James Madison did beat Liberty.
UNLV is not.
I'm just saying if they go undefeated. I'm just saying.
Sure.
But the path is very, very small. And one other thing I want to say about this: let Group of 5 fans enjoy wins without you having to tell them that they may lose their coach. I hate this. It's happening all the time. It was happening in week 2 with Alex Golesh. It's happening with John Summerall. Now we're doing it with Ryan Silverfield. That is so insulting to the fans of South Florida, Tulane, Memphis, all of these teams. Stop looking at college football through that lens. If you're only looking at through that Power 4 lens, you're missing a lot of great stories. You're missing a lot of great teams and coaches for what they are. And as someone who covered the Group of 5 for a number of years, like, those people in those programs are focused as much on winning the next game as everybody everywhere else. And I don't like the perception that Group of 5 programs now just exist to be feeders to somebody else. Tell that to Memphis, who just beat Arkansas. Tell that to USF beating Florida. Like there are a lot of fans and supporters and donors and leaders and coaches and players on those teams that should be celebrated for what they have accomplished, not what you think they can do somewhere else. So I just wanted to say that because we're talking about all the success the American is having. And someone's like, there's going to be a lot of coach openings this year, by the way, in the SEC. Like, stop that. Like, we'll get there when we get there. It's September. Let fans enjoy wins. I just wanted to say that. Let's get to a couple other games of note real quick. Arizona State, 27. Baylor, 24. Baylor keeps losing close games. Arizona State wins this on a walk-off field goal.
Yeah.
Sawyer Robertson again
for the Sun Devils.
Big bounce back for Arizona State, which again has TCU. Baylor they're right there and they can't get over that hump. Sawyer Robinson had another good game, but not enough to get the win. UNLV 41, Miami of Ohio 38. This game was insane. Miami had 2 different quarterbacks playing. UNLV outscored them 17-0 in the fourth quarter. A field goal with 15 seconds left. Miami attempts a 58-yarder at the end. The snap is bad. So, crazy game here. UNLV is 4-0 somehow. They've come back to beat Idaho State. They come back to beat Miami of Ohio. They've got to win at UCLA. Dan Mullen is just pulling rabbits out of his hat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what happened to our guy DeQuan Finn. Injury there. I saw the play. I was watching this game. Actually, I had it on my computer. I don't know what happened there. He threw a jump pass. He took a hit to his knees, in the air, and then just stayed down. It was on a pick 6, I think, and then just didn't come back. So I didn't see an update from him, but it didn't look good. Anyway,
UCF 34, North Carolina 9. I think North Carolina might be the worst team in the ACC. Maybe by a lot. Maybe. I've seen them in person twice. They're not very good. This may be a total disaster. UCF was picked to finish last in the Big 12. And North Carolina is just getting so physically outmatched. It is startling against Power 4 opponents. Gio Lopez also got hurt in this game. I saw afterward that Scott Frost, they were kind of miffed that Bill Belichick called them Central Florida, which if anybody who was on Twitter 10 years ago knows, you do not do that. You do not call them Central Florida. You call them UCF. Say,
I missed this memo. I got killed for calling them the Golden Knights in 2011, and they were
this is what I'm saying.
I literally had a month of UCF fans just furious on social media. I missed the Central Florida thing. I is that not?
Oh, that's a university. They're the University of Central Florida, yes, but they just go by UCF. It's the same. The Golden Knights and the UCF thing. This is what kept happening. 10 years ago, they'd put it in the game notes. Any reporter who said Central Florida, the fans on Twitter would just bury you. Bill Belichick did not know that, but
I have not made that particular mistake, but I think I missed the Central Florida memo. So I guess apologies in advance. Shout out to UCF.
That's a good win for UCF. They're 3-0. We'll see what happens, but North Carolina, big,
not good.
big problems. They've got, I think they have a bye in Clemson next, so we will see.
This decided schematic advantage looks a lot like the last one. I gotta tell you,
we thought Clemson UNC would be like a big thing. It is very much not. All right, San Diego State 34, Cal 0. Maybe the most stunning result of the night. I had this on my phone as I was driving home late. Just, I mean, it's 34-0. There's nothing to say other than, JKS threw, I think, 2 picks. One was a pick 6. San Diego State came to play in this one. And, we had mentioned on the preview show, like, hey, if Cal wins this game, like, look out, the schedule's pretty favorable the rest of the way. They could make some moves. No, Cal did what Cal does. And our buddy Antonio Morales pointed out that Cal does this. Last year, they lose to Florida State, who finished 2-10. In 2022, they lose to a Colorado team that finished 1-11. 2021, they lose to an Arizona team that finished 1-11. Now, I think San Diego State is better than those teams, but Cal just does this. And yikes.
It's a weird dynamic. I've been watching them last year, come so close to beating a really good Miami team and then just kind of tanking at the end of the year. Cal, what a weird team, man. Like, hard to figure. Maybe the Cal algorithm can figure it out for us, but because I don't understand this team. That I watched it and I'm like, what are they doing? Like, what is happening in this game? And
that was the classic. You remember when you were like a kid and like you'd put on the TV at like 11 o'clock at night because you didn't want to go to bed, and there's a game on Fox Sports Net. And it's like standard definition. It's like 2004, and some like New Mexico's beating like UCLA or something. You're like, is this real? Is this really happening? And you're like delirious because of how late it is. That's exactly what that felt like. One of those, you can't believe it's actually happening in the moment because it's so late and you're so tired.
Yeah.
Big yikes there. Speaking of another really late game, USC 45, Michigan State 31. Michigan State's defense is bad, although they had some injuries and an ejection as well. Aiden Childs is still improving. He played
looks
pretty
good.
well,
I
think, considered.
From him. Yeah.
But I think USC might be legit. We'll find out with the Michigan game, but like Jaden Mayava played very well. Wayman Jordan.
I tried to warn people on Thursday, Chris.
Wayman Jordan, 157 rushing yards. That dude gets upfield in a hurry, man. That dude finds a hole and boom, he hits it. Not all the way there on USC yet. They hadn't played anybody of note, and Michigan State we'll see. But keep an eye on USC. That's
kind of where I'm at. I see you, USC. Like, nobody was talking about you at all coming into the season, and I don't believe yet. But I'm like, they might be pretty good. We'll see.
We'll see how that Michigan game goes for sure. It is. We kept thinking like, is Lincoln Riley done? All these things. Like, no, they may be doing it in a way that we don't expect a Lincoln Riley team to be doing it. So we'll see. Now the defense, I don't know. All right, let's go to Hot Seat Watch, which is a lot hotter. We'll start with I think it was a Friday night game. Tulsa 19, Oklahoma State 12. Boy, it's a matter of time for Mike Gundy. There's no way this is going to continue. He has a $15 million buyout that is paid out through the next couple of years. Oklahoma State people are saying there's an infusion of money coming into the program to try to make the job sound more appealing. Tulsa had not won in Stillwater since 1951. I don't think they had beaten a group FBS team this season either. They had just lost to New Mexico State. They were the better team. They were the more physical team. Oklahoma State is completely checked out. Any thoughts on this and Gundy?
This reminds me a lot of the Gary Patterson situation at TCU in that it
didn't get this bad, though, for Gary.
No, it didn't. But the point is, I think that you can recognize that it's time while also recognizing that the program is what it is because of the man in charge of it. Mike Gundy built Oklahoma State into what it was. Yes, T. Boone Pickens' money helped, but money wasn't as direct a correlation to winning, when they built this thing. Mike Gundy's the guy out there hiring the coordinators. He's the guy out there, building the culture of that program. And
you're gonna name the field. You're going to name the field after him. You're going to build a statue for him, and you got to figure out how to do this in a way that you hope he will come back to actually be a part of that. whenever that comes.
It's time.
It's time to shuffle him out in a respectful way. Yeah. That's now 10 straight losses, I think, for Oklahoma State, dating back to last year's win against Tulsa. So that's how bad it's flipped. Maryland 27, Wisconsin 10. I never imagined it could be this bad for Wisconsin, period, but let alone Luke Fickell. Like, this is why, like, we never know if a coaching hire is going to work. Luke Fickell to Wisconsin was the most obvious good hire you could have made. He took Cincinnati in the group of 5 to the playoff. He won at Notre Dame. He developed coaches and NFL players and Sauce Gardner and Desmond Ridder. And they're just lifeless. It was a bad decision to hire Phil Longo as his OC and try to incorporate some side of air raid or whatever you're doing. Jeff Grimes has not worked either. They have had quarterback injuries. That has not helped. But they just don't have players, man. Like they're not. You don't see them making splashy additions. Even if he was healthy, Billy Edwards Jr. is not making a difference for you on this team. I don't know if they're just evaluating poorly as well, but man, it's really bad. It makes you wonder how much of Fickell's success at Cincinnati had to do with Marcus Freeman, who is doing a good job at Notre Dame. He also doesn't have his offensive coordinator, Mike Denbrock, who is now with Freeman at Notre Dame. So it's bad. His buyout, I think, is like 20-something million, $28 million, which I think would make it the second biggest ever. Like,
I believe that's true, because Gus Malzahn was the record holder before Jimbo. Jimbo did like triple. So yeah.
And the athletic director, Chris McIntosh, talked to reporters afterward, gave Fickell the vote of confidence, which doesn't mean anything now, but it means they're probably not going to fire him this weekend, I guess. I also don't know if Wisconsin, you're going to have the money to come in and pay this. Like, if you have that money, put it toward players or something. I don't know. I don't see it getting any better. It's frankly stunning how irrelevant Wisconsin has become.
That's part of it. Is I think when you look at Wisconsin, it's easy to say, well, you got Ohio State, you got Michigan, like, it's hard for them. Okay, but Paul Chryst, Brett Bielema, Barry Alvarez, I mean, Orange Bowl win, Cotton Bowl win. They get to the Capital One Bowl. They go to the Rose Bowl 3 times in a row. 2 Capital One Bowls under Barry Alvarez before he left.
Some of that is being in the Big Ten West, and one of those Rose Bowls was because Ohio State and Penn State were ineligible. But
I don't care. You're in the Rose Bowl. This Wisconsin team is like miles from the Rose Bowl. No way they're getting in there to buy a ticket.
There's no identity. There's no nothing. Fans are not showing up, and the ones that are chanting "Fire Fickell." It's really bad, man. Do not know what to think about Wisconsin right now. Let's get back to Arkansas, which just lost to Memphis. Sam Pittman. They've lost 2 games in a row, fumbling the ball while driving for a chance to win. That is tough. At the same time, you had the athletic director, Hunter Yurachek, say at the Little Rock Touchdown Club that Arkansas is set up to compete for national championships in men's basketball with Calipari and baseball, but not in football. And that upset a lot of people, even though it's accurate, but it highlights the issues, which is that a lot of the money at Arkansas is going there and not to football. David, you're the native Arkansan. What do you make of this whole situation?
I got a lot of thoughts. First of all, the Yurachek thing. He didn't say that to enrage the fans. I think he said that, 1, to spawn some more money. And 2, listen, I think Sam Pittman's a good football coach. He has not embraced the new era of college football. And what that looks like. I talked to him about this, I don't know, a couple years ago at spring meetings. And maybe they've shifted a little bit, but not in a meaningful way, in the same way that we've seen other places be really aggressive. But he just felt like, hey, I think his exact quote was, if nobody in the stands knows your name, image, and likeness, then why should we be paying you, crazy amounts of money for your name? It's like, because that's what sport is now. And you cannot like it, but you need a coach who's embracing that, not as being dragged around by the rule changes and a new world.
You're not actually paying for their name, image, and likeness. That's the thing. You're paying for them to play football. So that's a
problem.
Yeah.
His buyout is super interesting. It's about 9.5, but if he drops below 500, they say about $3 million there. It'll go down to like 6.
But I don't think I don't think he's going to get below 500.
I mean, keep fumbling the ball late. We'll see. I don't.
He's 32 and 33 now. So
but it's only since 2021.
Oh,
so right now he's
right,
like three games over 500. So they really kind of have to bottom out late to get there. You know, I think you might see like a late season retirement.
That'd be the way to do it. Like he is.
Well, I've talked to him about it. He wants this to be his last job. Like he's not. He's going to retire here. I think his exact quote to me was, he's got his house in Hot Springs with his awesome Razorback statue, and he's like, I'm going to go there when I'm done here. I would like to control when that is. He may or may not get that opportunity. So,
and you do have a interim head coach on staff in Bobby Petrino, and that is I'm just saying, like when you decisions to fire or not fire the coach, many times comes down to, do we have anybody who can do the interim job? And at Oklahoma State, I don't know if you can. I don't know if Todd Grantham is that, but at Arkansas you do, and it's a familiar face. So we will see, but it does feel like.
But here's the problem with that is obviously all the stuff from 10 years ago, whatever. But the problem that Arkansas is going to run into is there's not an obvious candidate to slide in there. And Bobby Petrino, for better or worse, does have a lot of support from the money people. They've never seen him lose. They saw.
You mean to be the interim?
We're gonna get there, Chris. He got run out of Arkansas at the peak of his powers in 2011, coming off of a major bowl win, and so. You know, the offense has definitely improved there. They haven't seen him bottom out in the same way that he did at Louisville, and the program kind of rotting beneath him. And so there's a lot of support for that. And obviously he's the interim guy, but you can have a coaching search. Obviously Rhett Lashley's at the top of that list. I think he would probably say no. I don't think that job makes a lot of sense for him. There's not a lot of other candidates that make a ton of sense that would run to that job. Arkansas is a tough job because there's so many things working against you. And you're in the pecking order of the SEC, you're pretty far down there. And so if you start striking out on candidates, interim Bobby Petrino becomes just Arkansas head coach Bobby Petrino again in a hurry. And that sounds nice, but you know, go look at how it's gone for Bobby Petrino on the macro at his last few stops. It's not been great.
Yeah. Miami, again, Miami's 26, Florida 7. With Billy Napier, like, again, like Florida is playing hard for him. They're just not good. And that's the problem. And the offense is the problem. When the offense is his side of the ball. Oh, and also you had 10 people out there for a Miami field goal again. How is this still happening? Like you make it so easy for people to realize that they should fire you when you cannot get these basic game management things that have just been there the entire time. You know, like DJ Lagway looks like a mess. He looks like a guy who missed the entire offseason due to injury and has not had any time to work with his receivers. I don't know what you do about that. I know some people are like, Lagway should shut it down for the year in redshirt and whatever. And I think that's harder to do with NIL contracts and stuff like that nowadays. But yeah, feels like a matter of time for Napier. We'll just see when, but credit to them. They didn't get run off the field at Miami, but they're just not good enough.
I don't think not getting run off the field at Miami is the standard for Florida, but
no, it's not. I don't think trying to save Billy Napier's job is the standard for Florida. So with that, we will now get to the helmet stickers, where we shout out a player who may have gone a little bit under the radar, but deserves some recognition. I'm going to go with TCU wide receiver Eric McAllister. 8 catches, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns. He could not be stopped. His numbers could have been even better than that. As TCU beats SMU, he looks like a dude. He came in from Boise a couple of years ago. He is very clearly Josh Hoover's guy to go to. SMU could not cover him at all. Huge
couldn't tackle him, couldn't cover him. All of the above.
For Eric McAllister, who, you know, if he's playing like he's been playing, you start to think, you know, Bolitnikov territory, because no one has really jumped out yet. So look out for him.
I'm going to go with Chris. I know you hate when I take 2 people for my helmet sticker, so I'm going to go with 11 guys. I'm going to go the San Diego State defense. The hype train was building for our guy, Jaron Kiawe Segapolatele. Is that close? Did I get that?
Sagapilitele, yeah. You say it quick. If you say it quickly, it's easier to, yeah.
The hype was building, and then he came to Snapdragon Stadium, 17 of 38, 208 yards. San Diego State pitches a shutout, has 2 defensive scores, including a 97-yard pick six off of our guy, JKS. Dwayne McDougal scooped up a fumble, scored there.
Good name.
San Diego State's defense, I got to call my printer because we're going to have to need more helmet stickers. We're going to run out slapping them on your helmet. So shout out to, which by the way, for the San Diego State helmets, maybe one of the 5 best helmets in college football. Maybe we shouldn't have helmet stickers for San Diego State. The Aztec print is awesome. So,
no, I mean they were clearly motivated by what I've been doing with them in our college football 26 dynasty. I won my final 5 games of the regular season. Sean Lewis, starting to feel the heat that people wanted. Coach Rey Mysterio Jr. And congrats, David, on your national championship with Virginia Tech. I'm sure you will be soon hired by Whit Babcock to run that program.
I was offered the Louisville job, and then I had to turn it down. I got Louisiana Tech at the very end because we're trying to figure out what we're going to do in this dynasty. I thought about taking the Louisiana Tech job. There was some mild criticism that Virginia Tech was too good. It was probably the 3rd or 4th best team in the league. But we said 3-star programs, and they were clearly a 3-star program. But I think you missed the memo. You got San Diego State.
I thought we were all taking G5 teams. We got App State and Ohio and there.
3 stars,
right, but the expectation. But then we had one guy pick Missouri and you picked Virginia Tech, and it's all right,
I wanted to enter Sandman. All I'm saying is our guy Ryan Knight was getting after it.
Congrats to Ryan Knight. All right, and with that, we're going to end this show the way we always do, and that is by remembering some guys.
It's better than this. Guys being dudes.
And in the spirit of USC versus Michigan State, I'm going to go with former USC quarterback Rodney Peete.
Okay, that's way back in the day.
Michigan State and USC played each other twice in 1987. I think the opener and then the Rose Bowl as well. Michigan State won that Rose Bowl. Peete ended up being a 6th-round pick, but he ended up having a pretty good career in media for a while. Remember him on the Best Damn Sports Show period back on Fox Sports back in the day?
I just remember John Sally on that show. I don't think
John Sally, Tom Arnold. I remember seeing Rodney Peete on there a lot. He's one of those just media guys. John Kruk.
I memory hold this. I don't remember him ever being. I remember John Kruk on that show. I don't remember Rodney Peete on that show ever. He was married to CW star Holly Robinson Peete. Are they still together? I don't know.
She still has the name.
What show do I remember her from? It was great.
She was on some stuff. I actually saw her on someone tweeted something about her the other day that also brought it.
Was she on Hang with Mr. Cooper? Hang with Mr. Cooper.
That's right.
The show I recall her on. Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right, David, who's your guy?
My guy. So Chris, I kind of hate these rivalry games as non-conference week 3.
We know you hate rivalry games. By the way, in Oklahoma, you'll hate this. Lots of horn down signals from Oklahoma fans up on the Jumbotron while they're playing Auburn. I mean,
that's lame.
No,
that's lame.
Get out of here. Anyway,
one of the Big 12 does it. It's awful. Anyway, all it does is just confirm what they suspect you. Anyway, so we had Apple Cup yesterday. We had Civil War. I'm glad we're playing them. We need to play them, but we have Mizzou, Kansas, in week 2. Anyway, my guy. Jonathan Stewart, Oregon running back. Because the one thing that sticks out to him, and was he on the NCAA cover in 2007, maybe?
No, I don't think so.
The reason why is in the early days of the Oregon uniform renaissance, they had, I don't know what the metal pattern is called, but it's the welding thing where your shoulder pads look like they were made of metal. And it was just a hilarious, I remember people were very mad about it, and Oregon has only gotten more intense with the uniform stuff since then. But that was the first kind of weird Oregon uniform thing. And
the Jonathan steel Stewart, things, yeah.
Yes, Jonathan Stewart was a big back. This is the Mike Bellotti era where they're still running. They're not quite the speed demons of the Chip Kelly era. And shout out to Jonathan Stewart.
Had the big game when they beat Michigan in the Big House in 2007 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good choice.
So shout out to Jonathan Stewart.
We got a nomination from listener Adam, I believe it's Skirto, and he remembers Jeremy Bloom. Just a guy being a dude, multi-time Olympian in skiing on the side, really fun kick returner. And his sister was the subject of the movie Molly's Game. That part I didn't know. Maybe it's my bias creeping in, but a reminder that in the 90s and 2000s, CU football, Colorado football, was a ridiculously entertaining, if not always successful, spectacle. In some ways, Dion is returning us to our roots. Jeremy Bloom, also one of the big athletes' rights advocate guys too. He's been a very active participant in all kinds of things. So Rodney Pete, Jonathan Stewart, Jeremy Bloom, we remember you. David, any final thoughts on them?
None that won't violate any NDAs. I'll leave it at that. So
okay. Send your nominations to remember some guys to bunchformationpod@gmail.com. We will be back on Thursday with the Week 5 preview episode. We're fully in the middle of the season now, folks. And then we got some big games coming up these next couple of weeks. Some more top 10 matchups coming down the board. I'm looking forward to it. I'm having a lot of fun doing the show. Thank you, everybody, for listening. For David Ubben, I'm Chris Vannini. We will talk to you on Thursday.
And bring back the turnover chain, because if you do, Florida might just not score. So.